time you slam the door, I would be the richest girl alive, life.
What's Gucci Mafia 9 family? Hope you're feeling absolutely freaking phenomenal. My name, of course, is Eddie, and guys, today we're going to be switching the content up just a little bit. We're going to talk about drones. I personally don't know an entire amount about drones, but I do have somebody who does, and that's my business partner, Tyler. He's going to be explaining how to basically rebuild a drone that we currently crashed on a previous build. But we thought that it would be an opportunity to pretty much show you guys exactly what that process might look like. So without further ado, Tyler, take it away.
Hey everyone, this is Tyler. I'm going to talk to you today about this custom drone that we built. It's a naked GoPro, which is basically just a stripped lightweight GoPro for tiny drones. As you can see here, it's super light. It actually comes in at under 250 grams, which is perfect. The drone itself is called the Beta FPV 95X. It's perfect for this lightweight Cinewhoop style where you can just cruise through basically anywhere. It's safe to use around people, cars. It's great for commercial use as long as you have your Part 107 license. That's very important. Otherwise, you can get in trouble for that one. But it's perfect for that. And I'll include the links to them in the description below. I'll make sure Eddie has those to include. As you can see, the GoPro, it was originally over 127 grams. After this change and fix, it's only 30 grams now. It does remove a lot of essential components though, so you do not have heat sinks, so you need to make sure you don't just leave it on running for a long time, otherwise it could overheat and cause problems. This specific board will only work with the GoPro Hero 6 Black. They do make other boards for different GoPros, but this is the most common form factor for this specific build, and that's because it works great with RealSteady, which just lets you have perfectly smooth cinematic footage out of just about any drone. If you're going to attempt this build, make sure to do your research and do it at your own risk, as it is very easy to completely short out and destroy both your GoPro and your drone if you solder wires to the wrong connection. If you accidentally fry something or pull something loose, it is incredibly easy to fry everything with this, so make sure to do your research. The stripped lightweight GoPro has a carbon plate on the front to protect it, and then it has TPU casing all around the outside to protect it from any impacts or dust or anything getting inside the lens. You can also attach custom ND filters and polarizers to the front of the lens using the same filters that the Mavic Air uses. This drone uses the FPV flight system, so instead of flying at line of sight where you're looking at the drone, you're actually looking through a pair of goggles to see where you're going, and the camera you see on the front of the drone actually feeds to those goggles in real time. That way you can fly farther than where you can see. But keep in mind, if you're flying farther than where you can see and you can't see the drone, make sure to have a spotter with you, otherwise you're against the FAA regulations. And it's really important to stay within the law when flying these things so you don't get in trouble. If you look at the front here, you can see there's a little bit of damage. That's why we're doing the repairs here today. As you can see, it just took a little bit of a beating after a crash when we were on a shoot for a client, and it needs to be repaired. It's pretty simple repair. All we're gonna have to do is take off all the screws, then we need to take all the parts and set them to the side so we can place the new part where it needs to go. Then all we have to do is put all the parts back where they go, solder the wires up, screw it in, and that's it. It's pretty easy. It's a pretty simple fix since nothing internally was damaged and it was just the mounted plate for the whole GoPro. So let's get started. The first thing I'm gonna do is take off the camera screws and then all the screws attaching the TPU mount here to the base. Once all these are off, I'm gonna get started on the next screws. Now that I have all the screws off, the next thing I need to do is get all the components out of the mount, and the best way to do that, in my experience, is to just cut the old mount. Make sure when you're doing this to be very careful not to cut any wires, or else you're going to make more work for yourself down the road. So what I'm going to do is just cut the TPU in these locations here. That way I can take all the parts out without having to unsolder anything. Now that all the parts are out and I have the GoPro out, let's actually take this out of its case so you guys can see what the internals of a GoPro look like. This step is not required, and this is more just to show you the internals of a lightweight GoPro. It's pretty neat. Once you take the carbon plate off, you can see the actual board for the GoPro. So that's the only thing that it works on this GoPro is the lens and the board. You still have a Bluetooth connection to pair it with your phone and change your settings, but there's no screen to change your settings. It's very limited in its functionality. So when you're doing this, make sure that you pair your phone properly ahead of time. Otherwise, you're gonna have to completely undo all the steps that you took to make a lightweight GoPro. All right, now that we took a look at the board on the GoPro, let's go ahead and get everything set up and put back together. The first thing we need to do is put the new TPU mount back here. This is a freshly printed TPU mount that we used a heat gun to clean up a little bit. I'm not that happy with it, but it's good enough to get the job done. So the first thing we need to do is get all the screws in and get it in place. This little board right here you see with the blue antenna on it, this is actually for the FPV goggles. This is what feeds the video signal that you see while flying in real time. So it's very important that this is secured in place, and we use these 2 little screws here to hold it in place. Once that's on, all that's left to do is tighten up those screws. Then we need to feed the camera cables back through, and they need to be resoldered back onto the board. The whole reason we have to unsolder and then resolder these cables is because they just, you can take them around the mount and then you don't have to do any soldering, but it just doesn't look clean. And I like all my builds to look very clean. So what I do is I feed the wires through the middle and unsolder them, and then I resolder them back in place to keep them nice and clean and tight in there. The soldering iron I'm using here is called the TS100. This is a highly recommended soldering iron as it gets very hot very quick, and it's actually mobile. So you can power this from any LiPo battery as long as it's 4S or higher, and I highly recommend it. Once this is done, all that's left is to plug in the red and black wires from the back into the GoPro, and it's good to go. The way you turn on the GoPro is through the little buttons on the top, and that's it. Now that it's put back together, let's go ahead and show you what it looks like. As you can see, it looks basically the same. The only difference is the new print and the new mount, it's fully attached, so it's no longer hanging off loosely, which is the whole reason the fix needed to be done in the first place. Another big difference is the TPU is actually different. It's a different type of mount. I changed it to where I feel like this is more sturdy. It's not gonna break again if I have a small crash this time. All right, let's go ahead and hover the drone so you can see how it works. As you can see, it's pretty stable when it's hovering. You can see it moving left and right a little bit, but that's just because it's not very high off the ground. Once it's up higher, it's incredibly stable. Since it's so lightweight, it's very easy to just fly very smoothly. The only downside due to the weight is that the wind affects it a lot. If you try and fly this in the wind, you're gonna have a really rough time. This little drone is perfect for a lot of uses. We use it mostly for commercial purposes. Real estate, it's great because you can fly indoors and you can fly through buildings, around buildings. You can fly through the front door. You can go through the living room and kitchen, then come out the back door to the pool area, all in one fluid shot, which looks great in real estate. Another great use for this drone is chasing cars. You can actually use this to follow cars while they're moving. And then if someone rolls down a window or opens a door, you can fly inside the vehicle and then exit through the other side, which gives a great cinematic look. And it's very difficult for people to see, well, how'd they get that shot? And that's how you build and repair a naked GoPro FPV drone.
So once again, let's give a super huge thank you over to Tyler for showing us how to build this particular drone. And I will be providing all the social media pages down below, as well as all the links that he's provided if you guys at home want to build something like this yourself, if you have a GoPro Hero 6 just casually laying around. Also, don't forget to leave me a comment down below to let me know if you learned anything from today's video. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit the little notification bell just so you get notified every time I put a video out like this, guys. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.
Can I get your number, baby? I'll give you mine if you give me yours.